What's up, everybody? I'm Adam. You're watching the Model Aviator channel. Small airplane, big release today for you. This is the E-flite Micro OV-10 Bronco. I really like the Micro series from E-flite. They're a bit bigger than the UMX airplanes, and that gives us a couple of advantages. The first thing is they can take on some very interesting subjects and still make them fly well as a model, and of course it allows for a lot more scale detail. This one is well and truly amazing. Let's get into it. The Micro Bronco has a 25.5-inch or 648 millimeter wingspan. It's 24.64 inches or 626 millimeters long. Our example weighs 12.4 ounces ready to fly with the recommended battery pack, the gear, and the Ordinance installed. It has two 1208 2150 kV brushless outrunner motors, an array of linear digital servos, and is intended for the Spectrum 3S 850 mAh 30C LiPo pack. The Bronco comes fully assembled in a box with a convenient carrying handle. That's a great place to store and transport it. When you open that box, you'll notice a piece of foam here. That is there to protect the counterbalance on top of the elevator. You'll pull the top piece of foam off. You want to grab the Bronco by the two verticals, lift up, and then pull back to remove the airplane from the box. You'll even notice they taped on some plastic protective covers to protect the corners of the gun pods. There are several other things included in the box. Obviously, you've got your instruction manual. You have the landing gear, which can be easily installed by simply pushing them into place, and they can be removed just as easy. So you have the option to taxi around and take off and land with the gear, or take it off and hand launch and belly land your Bronco. You've got some ordnance. There's an auxiliary fuel tank and a couple of rockets. Those just install by tab and slide like the ordnance on a larger foam model. You've got a pilot tube that can be easily installed and removed. And the guns are pre-installed, but they can be removed and replaced. All that is so that when you hand launch the airplane and belly it in the grass, there's nothing to snag on the grass. Of course, being a micro-size model, this is an OV-10 Bronco that you can fly in more places and smaller spaces, but you will need more room than your average backyard. Parks, schoolyards, a decent-sized field be great for this airplane. It is sold by Horizon Hobbies bind and fly only due to the nature of the micro board inside. It is Spectrum DSM-2 and DSM-X protocol compatible. It's a 5-function airplane out of the box. You have elevator, working twin rudders with a steerable nose wheel, ailerons, of course, throttle control. And this airplane is equipped with AS3X stabilization and optional Safe Select self-leveling. When you bind it, that is assigned to the gear switch. You have the option to deactivate safe if you want, but you may want to consider leaving it when you go to hand launch this airplane. It does have hand launch assist pre-programmed from the factory, so when it's in safe and you hand launch it, it senses the lateral G of your launch and gets the airplane out of your hands, wings level, on a good consistent launch every time. It also has a bit of smart telemetry if you have a compatible transmitter, and that is listed right here. This OV-10 has a full set of really nice LED lights that really look the part. And there's just so much detail on this model. That's the nice thing about the micro size. It's just bigger enough over a UMX to really give you room to put a lot of detail on the airplane. Tremendous amount of panel line detail in the mold. You've got more cockpit, canopy, pilot figure detail than any UMX or micro that I've ever seen. You've got turboprop intake and exhaust detail. Even the cannons have muzzle brakes on them. It's like they thought of everything when it comes to detail on this, and it really looks the part. It is a convenient top loader with plenty of room for the recommended size range of packs. And of course, all the control surfaces are attached via ball links that make adjustments easy if you need to adjust them. When it comes to setup, the manual has all the pertinent information within. We're not at a point yet with micros where we can take advantage of the smart transmitter file, so you will have to program your transmitter yourself, but the manual has detailed instructions on how to program your Spectrum DX, NX, or IX transmitter specifically for the Micro OV-10. Now, I do want to speak on the batteries. We mentioned the suggested 3S 850 milliamp pack. The range is actually 3S 600 to 3S 850. And of course, Spectrum makes one each of these. They do have the rather proprietary IC2 connector on them. That's the connector on the ESC of the micro OV-10. And that proprietary nature annoys some people. I get it. There are some adapters out there that will adapt other battery connectors to IC2 female, and that is specifically what you need to look for if you're utilizing some other type of battery in this size range. Note that EC2 and IC2 are not compatible. The pin placement on the IC2 is actually wider to make room for the center pin. So you can't use an EC2 adapter or EC2 battery on this airplane. So just know that if you're looking for adapters for it. I will also say this about these rather proprietary batteries. Horizon is kind of taking care of us on that. I have, including this now, 5 airplanes and 1 helicopter that I can utilize these batteries with. There's another airplane and another helicopter on the website that I don't have that utilize these batteries, and they're just going to continue to come out with more. So even though these are a little bit more expensive, they've been good batteries. I have to say that. I've used them a lot. They've got a lot of cycles on them. They're still going strong. And I got a lot of different airplanes and helicopters that I can fly on them now. So to me, it's worth the investment. But if it isn't to you, you do have options. When it comes to our battery placement, this is where we're putting the 850. We put the 600 about a 1/4 inch forward of that. I like the way the airplane flies on both of the batteries. Obviously, the 600 is about 6/10 of an ounce lighter than the 850 by our scales. And you can feel that difference when you're slowing the airplane down. You can get it a little bit slower with the 600 to be sure, but you also lose a little bit of flight time. If I'm really dogging this airplane on the 600, I get about 4.5 minutes. That goes up to about 6 with the 850. And if I'm just shooting touch and goes and really taking it easy, I get about 7 minutes with the 600. That goes all the way up to about 9.5 to 10 with the 850. If I'm just shooting touch and goes and using enough power to get it around the pattern. So very efficient airplane, flies good on both packs, stalls the same on both, does not drop a wing. You'll see in the demo flying, which is coming up very soon. Coming up right now is going to be our full setup info page. You can take a look at that, pause that if you want to take a look at it. We're using the manual setup. Have not felt the need to change anything. Airplane flies great with that manual setup. We'll go from that directly into the demo flying. We've got some flying with gear and ordnance on and of course off. Check that out. We'll meet you back here. We'll give you our final thoughts. Being a tricycle gear airplane, the Bronco has really good ground handling as you'd expect. It has a tight turning radius, so even if all you had to take off from is a sidewalk or a golf cart path, you could actually get the airplane turned around in that small of a space. We weighed the gear and ordnance for the Bronco, and together they weigh about 9/10 of an ounce. At this size, oftentimes gear and ordnance add enough weight and drag that it really affects the performance of a small airplane. The Bronco doesn't have that problem. There's plenty of power on tap. As you'll see here, the Bronco slows down very well. The ladder pack certainly helps with this, but it'll get pretty slow with the 850 also. The Bronco is decently quick and has really good vertical. Obviously, when you remove the weight and drag of the gear and Ordinance, that just improves. It has a pretty crisp roll rate for what it is and is capable of most sport aerobatics. Here I'm setting up for a 1G power off stall, and as you can see, it just drops the nose straight down and does not drop a wing. Of course, given the gear configuration, touch and goes are a blast, and it's easy to bring it in with the nose up and touch it mains first. The Bronco flies really good inverted, even with the gear and Ordinance installed. I'm only at about a quarter down elevator with plenty left over. There's not a ton of difference in the way the airplane flies with the larger battery, so that'll give us a chance to talk about some other things. A couple of things about the appearance that I forgot to mention earlier, and I definitely wanted to. The first thing is I love the fact that the propellers on this are correct rather than the rounded World War II style tips on the other foam OV-10 out there. That drives me crazy. The other thing is the paint scheme on this one. This is a Philippines Air Force paint scheme. So the all gray was actually done for a pretty good reason. Horizon thought that people might want to repaint this because it's an OV-10 and there's so many paint schemes out there. So having one solid color should make that easier to do. And the other thing I wanted to mention is with regards to orientation. It's actually very easy to keep up with what this airplane's doing because it has such a distinctive shape. It reminds me of flying a Corsair that's all navy blue. Those are very easy to keep up with because of the gull wing. The twin booms on the Bronco make it just as easy. We mentioned earlier the flight times on the extreme ends where I'm really pushing the airplane the entire flight or really taking it easy. It's worth mentioning that with the 600, I get around a 6 to 6.5 minute flight time doing what you see me doing here, and with the 850, I get around 8 to 8.5 minutes with mixed throttle. Some of these demo flights are shorter than the times that we can actually get to try to keep this video from being too long since there's 3 demo flights. This is a very stable platform, really a lot of fun to fly. It flies bigger than it is. The hand launch assist in safe really makes hand launching this airplane easy, but to be honest with you, I've launched it in regular AS3X and the same thing happens. It's really easy to hand launch, plenty of power, and just flies right out of your hands. I'll tell you another thing that really impresses me about this little Bronco, and that is how well it handles wind. It was blowing 5 to 6 on this day, and it handled more like a park flyer than a micro. And of course, as you'd expect, when it's clean, it slows down even better, even with the heavier pack. And here's a 1G power off stall with the heavier pack clean. Does the same thing, just drops straight down. This is a very detailed, very conveniently sized warbird, but it handles like a locked-in sport plane. I'm very impressed. Now I'm going to put it into a very tight turn, see if I can get an aerodynamic stall, and right there I did, but I had to really pull to get it to do it. Man, I had such a great time flying this model. When I was a kid, I remember seeing an OV-10 Bronco display at Dobbins Air Force Base. Really impressed with that airplane then. Did a little research, and my affinity for the Bronco just increased after that. I've flown a lot of the OV-10 models out there, and they all fly good. This one is certainly no exception. Great flying model, flies like a solid sport plane. The tricycle nature of the gear makes taking off and landing very easy, and getting those nice nose-high main first landings very easy to do, regardless of whether you're using a 600 or an 850 milliamp pack. And the stall characteristic is very docile. It will not drop a ring in a 1G stall with either pack, and we tested with the packs a good bit further back and all the way forward up against the little phone piece. Got the same result every time. You can get it into an aerodynamic stall, but you got to be going pretty fast, and you have to pull egregiously hard to get it to do that. It's not the kind of thing that's going to happen to you in normal flight unless you mean to do it. So a very docile, solid airframe. And that brings me to the skill level that Horizon has put on the box. It says skill level 3. And I'll be honest, I just don't understand that. I don't really agree with that personally. I mean, who am I to say I don't decide what skill level these airplanes are? But it certainly seems to me, my experience with this airplane, that if you can handle a trainer, flying this is not going to be any more difficult than that. If you're flying an Aero Scout or an Apprentice in the AS3X mode, and you're not flying it in safe all the time, and you can handle that, you can handle this. It's a little bit faster when it comes to slowing it down. It won't get as slow as the other two micros, but those are bush planes with big old flaps. It shouldn't get as slow as those. For what it is, slows down very well and handles very well slow. I think this is a solid skill level 2 airplane personally. When it comes to the price point, they have decided to introduce this airplane at the same price point as the other two micros, Draco and Scrappy. I think that is more than a fair price for what it is. Very highly detailed, really nice scale model of an OV-10 Bronco that flies like a sport plane. You can't beat that. So if you'd like to add one to your hangar, we'll put some links in the description where you can do just that. If you go through those links when you make your purchases, it helps support our channel. When you do that, Heidi and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you have never tried an OV-10, great way to do it with this one. Very easy to store and transport, easy to fly, and you don't need as big of a space to fly it in. That's it for us. Take care of yourselves. Happy flying. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings.